Special thanks to our presenting sponsor, IMDb, and also to Visit West Hollywood and the West Hollywood Travel and Tourism Board, who sponsors this panel.
All right, well, welcome to this special conversation as part of the Outfronts presented by Outfest, with a special thanks to presenting sponsor, IMDb. I'm here with the men of 911 Lone Star, Rafael Silva, Ronan Rubenstein, and Brian Michael Smith. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
Now, I love 911 Lone Star because I feel like TV procedurals usually feel very straight, like aggressively straight. And then along comes Lone Star, which is like anything but. Is that something that the three of you kind of appreciate about this show?
I think right off the bat, Lone Star has an extremely diverse cast, which is, I think, what kind of propelled the show to occupy the platform that it deserves. It has not only a diverse characters, but we also have extremely diverse, actors from all over the world representing all sorts of communities, which are American communities. Let's just make that very clear. No matter, everyone's American. No one's an outsider, but I think that's the point of 911 Lone Star. It's this found family, not only between first responders, not only between these characters from different communities, but also these actors from different communities. It's truly a blessing to share a space with people who have lived the lives that are so different from yours, and what a blessing that is to encounter someone to come from a different place than you do, that can teach you a thing or two, and a lot more. And so I would say that I think Lone Star does carry that gravitas when it comes to diversity, both in queerness, in culture, in language, but and I think that's extremely intentional, and it's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like also that. I'm sorry, Ron, yeah.
Go ahead, Brian.
I was going to say that I like that it's also built into the show, like into the story. We kicked off saying that, hey, there was a problem down here with diversity and with people being like aggressively cis hetero and white in this firehouse, and like, let's come down here and let's bring people in, and let's bring in people who are the best at what they do, people who may have been overlooked because of perceived differences, and then showing how those differences are assets to everybody, and how it really brings the family together to have people from these different viewpoints and these different cultures and these different experiences coming together to build something that hadn't been seen before, and how it's definitely reflected in the cast. Like, from people who had never really worked with each other before to all come together and to work so well for 4 seasons is almost unheard of with such a large cast, and it's very natural. And I think it's because of the authenticity everybody feels safe enough to bring to this show, because of the people that are working in front of the camera, and because of the people who are working behind the camera, who are also, open to that level of authenticity and listening to what we have to bring to the table.
Yeah, and if I could just add, I see it as tremendous progress, and I think, we're only here because we're standing on the shoulders of giants. Ryan Murphy and Tim Minear. This is very much 20 years in the making. The fact that we could even share these kind of stories on network television to such a gigantic audience, and to be, accepted into the homes and loved and cherished in many ways. That's been 20 years in the making of always pushing the boundaries and always knocking on the door. And now we have kicked down the door, and we're showing that these stories exist only because we're reflecting what the audience members look like in the world. We're only reflecting the storylines of what's actually happening out there. And it's just been a tremendous, tremendous thing to see. And we are now going to season 5, which is so special and rare in its own sort of world. But the fact that, we are going into season 5 with these characters, it shows that people want to watch this. And there's a market for it. There's a craving for it. And there's I think a curiosity for it, and it's an incredible thing to be a part of right now.
Absolutely. And let's talk about these characters. I mean, gay cop, trans firefighter, these roles, especially as series regulars, they don't come across every day. So when you first heard about these parts, when you were just auditioning, I imagine you probably fought pretty hard for these. You were probably like, I really want this.
No, not really, to be quite honest. I didn't even remember auditioning for this when I got a call that I was going to come out and test. I was like, what? But I think that's also that's the life of an actor, right? You have to invest, and then you have to let go completely because nothing's in your hands, no matter how hard you try. And I think that's a healthy way of approaching your work is you dedicate for the sake of the work for yourself, not for the expectation of reciprocity, even though that is very much easier said than done. But when I auditioned, I think in July, and then August, in early August, and then early September, hey, you're coming out to test for a 911 Lone Star. I was like, what? When? Who? Okay. Went in, booked it, and then it was just immediate. We started immediately. I booked in the next week. We were already starting, and I have to move out here. So it was a fast process, which I guess was already immediate indicator of how Lone Star works. It's fast, but we can only move that fast because we have extremely talented and dedicated and competent crew and the cast. But I'll say that the experience of portraying Carlos has been nothing but illuminating to showcase. Because of the feedback that one receives when you portray such character, the people that tell you that you're so inspiring, you helped me come out, or I've had plenty of police officers message me on Instagram and say, "Hey, I'm a police officer. I just want to let you know that it feels so great to see someone like you on TV that represents me, where I cannot be myself at work, where I just have to stay." More private about my life, and so it's I guess it's a gaining of consciousness of what that world looks like, because it is civilian world is very much from first responder world. Obviously, we encounter just first responders encounter different sort of reality in terms of danger and rescues, etc., as this show has established, but I think the most delicious part about getting to play Carlos are the people that I meet, people that I work with, the people I get to collaborate with. We have fantastic writers that work so hard to put out a script and create this world, which is not an easy show to write, but to direct. So we have great leadership in this world, and it's even more joyful to be a part of this storytelling, where I wish I had, but I was also growing up, and you never know how it may affect someone.
Yeah, I mean, while we're talking about hearing from people, Brian and Ronan, what kind of feedback have you gotten from fans who feel that that your role has impacted their lives?
Oh man,
yeah. Go ahead, Ronan.
It's been just surreal. It's since day one. I remember it like it was yesterday. Since that very first trailer dropped in November of 2019, I just immediately noticed a massive bump in the DMs, and it was people from all over the world, every age you can imagine, of being like, I have been waiting my entire life to watch something like this. And then obviously as the TV show has evolved and we're, heading to season 5, it just has exponentially exploded. Now we're in a very incredible place of we're getting to now meet fans in person, getting to travel around the world to meet fans and hearing their stories in person, face to face. That's been one of the most magical and sort of like pinch me moments of this whole experience of like, these characters are affecting people so deeply on such a deep level. It's been absolutely incredible. I can't even begin to tell you the kind of stuff that I've heard. It's unbelievable. And thank you to everyone that has reached out, because that is brave. You know what I mean? You pretty much only know us through the TV screen, and to share your story and to open your soul like that to us. I appreciate every single one of you guys. And it's been a long road, and you have stuck with us through the whole thing. So thank you. And it's been an honor to share this journey with you guys, the fans. Hashtag best fans in the world. That's my thing.
Yeah, just to echo the sentiment of both Ronan and Raphael, like for me, even just hearing that they were casting specifically trans masculine character to play a firefighter was just like literally a dream manifestation, like come true. Like I had written it on my board. I want to be on one of these shows. I want to play a trans masculine character. I want to be in the ensemble. Like I wanted it, and I felt like I was prepared to meet the challenge. So, you know, when the audition, you know, the breakdown came through, and I was like, hey, what? This is it. So I had this sort of feeling like, even if I don't book this thing, just the fact that it exists and I can walk in the room and I can give my interpretation of it and bring something to this, it meant a lot to me. So then to, you know, fast forward and see that people have watched this character over time and watched what he has gone through. People who have reached out on one hand and been like, you know, I didn't have language. I didn't see anybody like myself. And when I see, you know, Paul, you know, I really understand who I am. And now I feel like I was able to come out and talk to my parents, or, you know, talk to my partner, or I wanted to be a firefighter, but I didn't think I could be a firefighter because I'm trans. So now I'm going out to, you know, so hearing those stories like firsthand, or, you know, from parents who are saying like, I was really afraid for my child and I was having a really hard time accepting them because I didn't see a future for them in which they could be, you know, happy and whole. And I see your character and I see you as a person, Brian, being happy and whole. That gives me hope. That's been, I don't know, very fulfilling in a very deep and like spiritual way. And then to see the impact that it has on people who aren't even like of the experience, who go like, I didn't even know that the character was trans. I just really like him. And I understand what he's going through. And it's like, it's that universal connection that I feel like is so important to get people to actually be allies. Because once you can see someone's full humanity and get an understanding of what they're going through, and you go, hey, that's just like me, it makes it really hard for you to be hateful or to sustain hateful ideas about somebody or to let something bad happen to somebody else. So to see that people are making those connections, whether they're of the experience, they know someone of the experience, or they don't think they know anybody of the experience, but they're still having these aha moments because of a character, because of some art. I mean, I feel like that's what I'm put on this earth to do. So to see it manifest, I feel very, very fulfilled.
And sorry, I don't mean to prolong the answer, but as I was listening to Brian speak, I just noticed my own sort of privilege within this industry. I would audition, talking about as an actor, I would audition. You asked, like, you must have fought pretty hard for these roles, and just my response to receiving so much rejection has been, you know what, let it go. There's another one coming. There's another audition coming. But that's a position that I'm in. It's not every day, and Brian, obviously, please chime in, but I would imagine it's not every day that network television on Fox, they're trying to cast a Black trans firefighter.
They're not.
First of all, trans roles, secondly, a Black trans firefighter. So what a and this is like this, I don't know which interview I already spoke about this, but what a privilege it is to meet people from different places, from different backgrounds, from different realities, because then you become grounded. Then you start to understand, oh, okay, wow, you earned this in a different way than I did, right? Both respectful and both equitable, both equal in their own sense. But it is so humbling to hear stories like Brian's, even just now. Because I also was like, no, I can just throw it that way. Well, because there is the expectation of another one coming, another audition coming. But for situations like, you know, my trans brothers and sisters, and it's this industry doesn't offer that same reality of consistent auditions, consistent job opportunities, in which as artists it's a dream to have it consistent. So
yeah, no, and then just to echo that, I mean, the privilege that even I have as someone who is cis passing. I have a privilege too, because, you know, they're not writing that many trans roles. They're not writing that many roles for trans men. And then they're also not writing that many roles for people who are gender non-conforming and non-binary. So even me to be able to do this role, I, you know, feeling like I was accepted and I was seen for this role because I feel more palatable to a wider audience, goes to a privilege that even I experience, you know, that some of my siblings, you know, don't get a chance to do, or it's really short-lived. So, you know, it's like a never-ending like cycle of just remembering, like, hey, again, we're all going through something and we all bring something to the table, you know what I mean? And we can all learn from what other people have to bring, what other people's experiences are.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know what? Another thing that we honestly don't see a lot of on network TV is, you know, Tarlos, like a gay couple that gets together at the very beginning and stays together, you know, for 4 or 5 seasons. What does it mean, you know, to be able to, you're like the queer Ross and Rachel. It's like, it's real. Like what does it mean?
Wait, say that again. That sounded good.
You're the queer Ross and Rachel.
Obviously being Rachel, the smart.
Listen, you can fight that out amongst yourselves. But how, you know, what does it mean for you to get to, you know, play this secure, aspirational same-sex couple that's really has a great foundation?
Man, it started at a honky tonk bar with a "You Want to Dance" to now we're getting married at this 2-hour season finale. Man, it's kind of hard to put into words. I know we kind of have to, but it's been a magical experience for me personally. Getting to grow on this show as an actor, as the character TK, and then as the human being Ronan Rubinstein. It's been really, really special, to say the least. If someone could come up with a word that's like special times a million, I think that's what I would use. And, you know, we have now created a family, you know, from this experience, and I consider these my brothers. And it's just been, you know, and again, like something like Tarlos on network television, you know, biracial, same-sex marriage in a massive 2-hour finale. It speaks highly to, you know, the people that are creating the show. I mean, you know, they are writing these stories, and they are writing it fearlessly and with all their heart and soul, because they know we can finally show these kind of beautiful moments and relationships on network television and around the entire globe, you know. And it's just been an honor of a lifetime, something that I would cherish forever. And you know, these boys aren't going anywhere just yet. We've got a long way to go. In season 5, I'm sure we'll have even more roller coasters for Tarlos, if that is even possible, but I'm sure they'll come up with something.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you
Oh,
go.
I think Tarlos represents. I think Tarlos has the responsibility of representing a beautiful community, but I think it's important to just be reminded that it represents a part of the community, a facet of the community, even between gay cis males, you know, because this for this relationship, this is a monogamous relationship between 2 men, but that's not all of the community, and that is also okay. And because this is just a commitment between these 2 people, you know, this is just what their relationship looks like. But the community is bigger and broader and more complex, and has a lot more other conversations. And I think it also provides a more, I guess it provides an invitation for those who don't encounter people from this community to want to have a conversation about the community and not make assumptions about this community and what this community looks like and what it is, quote unquote, about. The same way you know, you know, it's an invitation to also understand that multiple communities can coexist. They can be, they we can coexist mixed. We don't need to you know, to diminish, to discriminate to other communities, for us to feel safe, for other communities to feel safe, to have a sense of identity. You can coexist. And I think, you know, Carlos being Mexican and having the Latino community and having this quite honestly quite strong Latino cop also be queer, and he can be queer and be strong and be assertive and be and masculine, but and be also so sensitive and completely neurotic a little bit, but also lose his shit sometimes. And that creates a human being. It's a human being. We just like him, just like the role of Paul. You know, these are human beings, and we do coexist. Is just in this platform, we're just making you aware of it. And I think it propels conversations to be had that otherwise would have not been had, you know, were it not for these characters or the presence of these characters.
And I'll just add on top of that, which is eloquently stated, that having a Tarlos exist right now and showing again the humanity of two of these men and their relationship and what they represent, at a time when there's all this anti-LGBT attacks and legislation, and you're showing like this joy, you're showing this love, you're showing this comfort, even in the face of all that. I think that's what's, you know, truly important about having this couple and this representation on television at this moment, because, you know, you have all of this misinformed sentiment that's being used to fuel a lot of these attacks. And then when you actually can tune in and you can see like they're just two people who are trying to live their lives and share love, it becomes really hard to continue those kinds of attacks. So like I'm very appreciative of being able to see a full relationship unfold over time. So there's that reality to it, because again, there's all these misconceptions about what happens in gay relationships and in queer relationships. And it's like, well, here's an example of one that seems to have a lot more similarities to what you're going through than you might want to admit to yourself, you know? So that's to me, that's the power of television. That's the power of having two actors who can bring so much of themselves and so much of that authenticity to what they're putting on television, because of that impact that it's going to have.
Yes. Well, I love a good TV wedding, and this one certainly, this season 4 ends with a big one for you two. How did it feel like standing up there? I know, Brian, you were up there too, officiating. How did it feel like,
I mean,
saying
that's
those
pretty
vows?
epic.
Did that feel like a real wedding in some ways?
Yeah. When they first, I'll tell you what, there's the power of make-believe, but the power of production design too, because we all know we read the script, we prepared for it. And then when the music plays and they come down the aisles, like everybody, you just have a real human reaction to what you're seeing.
Within a dry eye in the crowd. I saw crew members crying, man. It was, yeah, they went above and beyond. There wasn't a lot of pretending, let's say. It was, you know, you really were able to like fall right into it. And I think just so much happened prior to the wedding. You know, we were talking about this earlier, but the wedding is to celebrate these two coming together and to celebrate the love. But there was a lot of grief and a lot of loss, and a lot of heartbreak at that wedding as well. You know, we just lost Carlos's father to a brutal murder. We lost TK's mother in the previous year. We lost Tommy's husband a couple of seasons ago. And then we see Owen's brother, Robert, who is pretty much on his way out. And it's a really incredible sort of culmination of emotions and layers for this wedding. And I think it was done so brilliantly. But from the perspective of, you know, being on set, it was magical, to say the least. And one of the coolest things about it all was that we shot the wedding on the last 2 days of filming. So we all got to wrap together. We all got to celebrate together, and we all got to sort of finish this tremendous season together in this beautiful setting. So it was very much a party in reality and on screen. It was really, really magical.
Yeah, I think that was the first time we all pretty much rapped together, which was saying something for like 4 seasons, but it really did mean a lot, especially given all that the characters that went through and then all that we had went through, you know, as actors kind of on the journey to bring those things together to kind of finish it. And, you know, again, it's like 4 years, you know, from something that went like, hey, you know, we got these, everything happened very fast. Like Raphael said, it's like, you know, you did the audition. Very few of us had to do more than like one audition. And then it's like, we just hit the ground running, and it's a very fast paced show. It's a very fast paced production. And the next thing you know, there's a pandemic. So everything's always go, 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 go. And so to have this moment of culmination where we all can kind of be like, wow, we've really done a lot, you know, and like we've really grown together. It really is a family like vibe amongst the cast and amongst the crew. And then to just come to this stopping point together and to create something so beautiful was a really great way to kind of put a comma on this part of the project for sure.
I would agree with Brian. I think the fact that it all came down to like the stopping point was frankly for everybody, because you know, when you're shooting back and forth and you're shooting a show like this, you may shoot a beautiful scene like this today, but tomorrow there is a rescue that you need to wake up at 3:30 a.m. for, because you need to start acting at 6 and makeup ready, hair, everything, you know. And so it doesn't allow you to be as present. But the fact that it funneled down to this point, I think everyone does a fantastic job of staying present, but it's different when you literally are not required to think of other things the next day or the following week. So it was a very special moment when and I felt it, we saw it. I mean, from perspective of, you know, Brian's perspective, people were emotional, but also to be walking in hand in hand and watching everybody, you know, and it was also so useful as an actor because everyone's looking at you and you're, you know, and wherever Carlos is coming from, it helped the moment. But it was truly a moment of presence for the entire. I don't want to speak for the entire show, but it felt like it was a moment of presence for the show and for these characters and for the cast and the crew. And everyone earned it. I think everyone earned that moment to just like, this is listen, every day is a fun work day, but that day it was shooting the shit. Quite honestly, shooting the shit, having fun, relaxing.
It was a party, man.
Yeah, it truly felt like a party and dancing and yeah. So
that last night, guys.
And the overlap, because sometimes some of us, we don't even get a chance to work together. Like, you know, the firefighters and Sierra, we don't get a chance to connect that much. You know, some of the people who now have significant others, like, and then we've been working with these guest stars kind of on your own island. So now it's like, no, now we can bring, you know, Amanda, you know, who plays Asha can come in, and then Michaela, who plays Kendra, can come in and meet Carlos. And so all this overlap of people who've been working kind of in the same universe finally all came into the same galaxy for once. And
she was giant that day. That call she was this long. It was pretty epic.
It was like a factory coming in out of the makeup trailer, but you're like, oh yeah, and you got the chance to like celebrate the end of the year with everybody, where you go, you did such a great job in episode 5, or you did, you know, such a great job over here, and it's glad to. So we got a chance to really like spend time with each other. It was like a filmed rap party.
Oh my God, it really was, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and everybody's dressed to the nines. It's like the perfect situation.
It's a good looking cast.
It is. You know, we're talking about the wedding, but Brian, in Paul's love life, you know, we've seen him struggle to find somebody who really understands him, but now it seems like he has. What do you feel is kind of most important, you know, about Paul's journey as a transgender man that you are proud to have shown on screen in terms of his search for love?
In terms of his search for love, I think that he's always been aware of himself and his value, no matter what happens around him. You know, even in season 1, when he had the date with Josie, it was like, you know, he said, I date, I'll go around. There's things I'm comfortable with. I don't do too many blind dates to sort of be safe. I'm gonna take a risk. And then even though his feelings were hurt, he never felt bad about himself or unworthy. He just realized it was sad that she wasn't ready for him, and he was able to move on. And so throughout, you know, the rest of the seasons leading up until when he finally met Asha, it was great to kind of see him like, I know who I am, and I'm ready for somebody who can come in here and can appreciate that. And what was really great about the Asha storyline was that here's someone who he had nothing to explain to, you know, outside of who he is as in the present, what he's dealing with in the present, which was new for him, and which is something that I think a lot of people who don't know trans people, who think they kind of have an idea of what the experience might be, got a chance to see, because there's all of this life that happens beyond the point in which most people kind of check in with trans people, like the transition. So the coming out, and then do people accept you, and what did your parents say, and like all this. Then there's like, just, you know, it's been 20 some odd years of you just being who you are fully. And so to have somebody reconnect, and it's like, I don't have to undo, unravel, or really try to explain or go back, you know, and recover the last 20 years of being who I am, who can allows me to just be all of myself all at once, I thought was really, really beautiful. And even though they had some hiccups and her feeling so comfortable in like who he is, and being like, oh, here's something from your past that, you know, he wasn't quite ready for, I thought that was something also that was like beautiful, because it allowed us to kind of see like, okay, things can be a problem, but it doesn't have to be the end all be all. It just requires like a conversation, or requires some holding or some empathy. And Asha has that, like, you know, in spades. So I'm really happy that they had a chance to continue to develop their relationship, even though, you know, they had some bumps in the road, which is what you would expect from any relationship, you know?
Hey, Brian,
Yeah,
if you don't mind.
Oh,
Right, but I think also when the story is told that way, when it's not questioned the validity of the worthiness of a character to be seen that way, it also, I feel like it also teaches the audience how to listen to such information, and how to, like, they don't have to question the authenticity of this character, if he's worthy of love, if he's worthy of presence, if he's strong enough to do the fucking job. No, he just is. He just is. And
Yeah, and I
yeah,
love that the burden wasn't on Paul. It was about, you know, Josie. It was like Josie had an issue. And so it doesn't like Paul has to change or like do something or come with a different way. It was like, no, she had an issue. She was able to, you know, be honest about it. And even though it was disappointing, it doesn't detract from who Paul is. And even in how she talked about it, it didn't detract from who she thought she was. She just said, hey, I thought I was more evolved to handle this, and I realized I am not. So you're amazing, you're a great man, I see you for who you are, I just have some stuff to work on. And then she went about her business, and I thought that was a very brilliant way of handling it, you know. And I also loved even in that episode that when Paul wanted to have the conversation with her, we didn't hear it on screen. So I let the audience kind of figure out, well, how would I talk about this to somebody? How would I bring this up? What words would I use? So they can kind of just, again, like step into the shoes of somebody else. And again, empathize, because some things are complicated, and some people like to, you know, just jump on, oh, you just have to do this, you just have to say that. And it's like, well, you never know what level of understanding somebody has. You never know what level of safety you're going to have after you talk about this. I love that when we had the conversation in the locker room with TK, Paul, and Mateo, he's like, I got a chance to talk about my experience with the rule of three, where it's like, if I tell one person, I've actually told three people, because people have to talk about it with others. And that becomes a safety issue that a lot of people don't think about. So when you just willy-nilly kind of expect that trans people owe you a disclosure, it's like, no, we don't, because I don't know what you're gonna do with that, you know? And I don't expect you to disclose what's going on with you in your personal life on the first, you know, meetings, you know, whether you have diabetes or whatever. Like, you don't have to tell me anything until you're ready to tell me. And we, you know, have the same right and I guess, you know, accountability. It's like, I'll tell you when I feel like you are safe to me, you know. And I love that was part of the story.
Oh yeah, and I love that Paul has people that he can lean on. I think allyship is another thing that the show does really well. It just shows how people who maybe are not walking that same path can still be empathetic and listen and offer advice and just be there.
Yeah, it's like, listen, you don't have to understand, you don't have to have all the terminology, you don't have to get everything right. But if you can see my humanity and try to protect that, that's all you need to do. And I feel like that translates outside of our firehouse and like into the world. You don't have to understand everything to be able to recognize humanity and what's right and what's wrong and to do the right thing.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I think that is all the time we have today, but thank you so much for talking about this, and I cannot wait for season 5. I'm so excited.
Thank you, Andy.
Yes, thank you, Andy.
So much, Andy. Appreciate it.